How are we, people? How are you doing today? Today we are doing chapter 8. My dad's life story continues. The untold story about the Kianda family. We've already done 7 chapters, as you are aware of that. Keenly following and working through a timeline. You know what I mean? A timeline. You kind of give something a structure. The title of today's chapter is The Birth of Kegus. Me. What really was going on in my dad's life in 1971. It was a whirlwind romance, because previously we've dug deep into what was going on right after my dad graduates at Bukalasa Agricultural College, begins his first job at Mango Growers Cooperative Union. Mango Growers as a principal chief financial auditor. There were 4 roles in one job. So he must have been very, very good at what he was doing. That he could, of course, whatever he was doing it well. You know, I've already given you the accolades. Several buildings were built. No, they were built under his stewardship. The HQ, Mango Growers, very huge building. So he was in a very big budget. That's what I mean. He was handling big sums of money at that young age in his job as an auditor. Do you know what auditing is about? You manage finance. You know, you do a lot to do with money. So, and at that time in his early life, you're talking of 21, 22, 23. By 1969, he's going out with a very, very beautiful woman in Kampala who eventually gives up on, because she was the center of attraction. You know, she was a desired woman. Every man, you know, she draw the attention and all that. And lo and behold, his friends advise him, Uncle Patrick expressed to one car, that it's not worth, because he was doing so many things for the woman. He was, you know, taking care of her. He was, you know, if you want to get things right at that age, you have to take advice. That by 1971, when the government changes, 1971, Idi Amin overthrows Dr. Milton Apollo-Bote, who was the president, while in Singapore attending the Commonwealth Summit in Singapore. So a lot of things change instantly. A lot of things are happening. By that time, he's built 3 houses already in one place in Chebandu. And one house, my mom and her sisters and brothers have moved in. They were staying there. He was accommodating them there. They were just friends at the time. Although the word was that my dad was having a relationship with one of the sisters, the elder sister. Era okwo kwava emitawaana ejaddako alyoke yali agenda Nairobi. My dad, 1971, he has to attend some working summit or something. Ebyo cooperative byali biri even in Kenya, SACCO Do you know that sako comes from Kenya? Kama hiyo maneno ya watu pamoja, you know. He decides to go with my mom. My mom at that time, she must have been 15. She must have been 15. Or 16. Let us give it a number 16. But she was young. Yali muto. It's always not about the number. You know, women get away with so many things at some point. She was a teenager. And my dad also didn't look his age. He was young. He was 20. He was 24 at the time. And very rich. So while in Kenya, they are checked in at the Fairmount, the Norfolk Hotel. These are all very, very exclusive. If you want to compare that hotel, you would compare it with the Grand Imperial. Grand Imperial was a colonial enclave, and at some point, governor, history, the first governor, whatever governor, Andrew Cohen, Hesketh Bell, baberanga mu Grand Imperial. Olwo nga bagiyita Imperial Hotel, nefuka Grand, then at some point it was called State House. A Grand Imperial, the opposite is Sheraton. At one point it was State House Hotel, State House Lodge. That was in the 70s during a ministry regime. Muammar Gaddafi was Uganda. When he came to Uganda during it was during the OAU Summit, Organization of Africa Unity Summit in 1975. Okay, so let's go back. Whatever went on, or whatever they went about with in Kenya, it was my mom's first time to fly. Nabagamba last week, the other week before, nti nagala mumpeyo omuwala owa teenage nayingira mu bulamu, or it's called, you are swept into a lifestyle that you can't even make of. Kakati my dad and my mom, 1971, they fly. By then, my dad had flown a little bit here and there in East Africa one, but now he was flying on a romantic escapade. And whatever went down in Kenya, they had a good time. Kenya back in the day was the place to be. There's even several songs that were sung about Nairobi. Twende Nairobi, blah, 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 Mbilia Bell, many songs. It was a paradise in East Africa. It was romanticized in the literature of the day. You know, they talked about Nairobi as the place to have fun. So that is 1971. It must have been towards the end of the year, probably around October time. I don't have the exact dates. But if I work backwards, if I'm born on the 16th of June, that is January to June. Those are 6 months. That is 72. Then 71, 3 months to the end of the year. That gives us October. October time. Because when she comes back, she was pregnant. Most probably, most likely. They spent a good time there, probably a month. These conferences usually went on for a long time. And you wouldn't go on such an escapade and just come back. Bw'oba ne ssente buli kimu okikolanga bw'okyagala. Ng'ate oli mwana muto, oli muvubuka. nze mbagamba abantu abalaba ku taata wange beegombanga nnyo kyanda ate nga my dad wasn't a show off naye ngaebintu byeyakolanga nga bimusetting apart ng'ate bamutya olutya. He was a very good money handler. Sente ng'amanyi ozihandolinga obulungi ne discipline. Kakati bw'akomawo, of course mubimanyi bino, mubimanyi, you know the drama begins. Kakati drama ki omukazi yenna kasita bamala omwagalako aba alinnye eddaala. Bino mbayinza n'obbawo examples nyingi nnyo. Kiraba when they return from Nairobi, kakati mama wange agenda clashing ne basista be, because now there's already the conflict already begins. My dad was saying this other lady, Ruth, Miss Uganda finalist, gwe nabagamba omukyalo omulungi ennyo yatigomya abasajja mu Kampala awo nga bamulwanira bulwanizi, olutalo olwo lwalina mu Suzaana. Kwe kuva entabwe Uncle Patrick n'agamba taata wange, naye Simpson, I don't think it's worth your time. Omukazi wadde omwagala, omukazi wadde omukoledde ebintu bina binakwagale, naye abamutawanya bangi nnyo, abakwana omukazi bangi nnyo, baminisita bajja kukuba amasasi. Kati bamaze okujjako Amini azze. Amini bwe yajja, of course, you know, when Amin took over, he took over with the blueprint of a military coup. So imagine crashing with a minister in a nightclub of a woman. What would be the best advice? So the best advice was, according to his friend, was to jump ship. Okay, he pulls the plug. You know, omukazi naye ayinza okuba yali amwagala, because they stayed. She was always in the shadows. Ne kumbaga yajja. She was there on the wedding. Aishanyiza mama wange. Okay. Kakati, my mom agenda ku clashing ne basista be. Kuba kati she moved into the master bedroom. Ye mukyala. Kakati sister we omukulu gwe nabagamba, sister wa mama wange. Tata wange yali ayagala. Umukitegera bulungi nnyo. Kakati let's put the Miss Uganda on the side. But he had accommodated my mom and her sisters in the house. Kwa nyumba zaalinga nkalu, the houses were empty. Kiraba nga jabuzi ate nga jane Ruth, which means my mom knew Ruth. Okiraba yayingira ekintu nga manyi kyayingira, and the only person who was to stand in between was my dad. Ye nga yasalawo decision maker. That is why the wedding is hastily. The wedding is put, you know, Patrick yamugamba Uncle Patrick Express. N'agamba taata wange nti omanyi night mwana muto, night tomukyawa, one night mwagale, on those lines, things like that. Because nga we nabagamba last week, when it became obvious that my dad was going out with my mom, abantu bayagala nnyo anti night, my mom. Abantu bayagala nnyo mama wange, mikwano gya taata wange gyonna. She was very angelic. My mom. And she gravitated towards so many people. Unlike Oli Miss Uganda finalist, so there was a conflict there. Mufuna bulungi nnyo, conflict. Where your heart belongs and where your soul belongs. So my dad and my mom were more of soulmates. Kati the woman that my dad loved, wasn't, these things happen, especially we men. We get conflicted a little bit here and there, especially when it comes to women and love. Are you with me, people? So, so 1971 comes and goes. But what was going on that prompted my dad to go to Nairobi with my mom? I think by then, my mom had already made an impression on my dad. Bino ebintu bibeerawo. Oyinaga ngeze ku safari, tomanyi kyagenze kukola. So yagenze ku safari. Olowooza aba agenze ku safari kukola ki? Bwe babagambanga bakazi bannange, omusajja agambye nti agenze safari. Era manya bumanya alina gwaweese, alina gwasitudde, tagenze yekka, kebere business trip, kebere working holiday, things like that. Especially if you're young. Kiraba? Era kati kiringa nze, olina kugamba nti ne Kegus. Nze nakoladde ebintu bingi nnyo mu bulamu bwange. Era essaawa eno bw'omuwulira ne mugamba nti Kegus yakwanye ebweru, mmanya bumanya nti oyo amukoledde ebintu. Omuwala ajja kukugamba, omukazi ajja kukugamba nti nze njagala biwedde, abakyankwana bangi nnyo, ate n'emyaka gy'olina nagyo giba gimatarenga. Kakati gwe omusajja bakulaba okoze ebintu, ogabye ku bintu, olinnye ku nnyonyi, obaddeko ebweru. Kiraba? So it's a power play. What my mom had to lose, yali mwana muto, she had nothing to lose. N'abandi mwagadde bandi baddeyo. But it all came to a question of timing. Sister mama wange, ye yali mu kazannyo, yali muwala naye nga muto, yali nga mu 1920 nga bakyakalira mu Suzana night club. I told you about that famous club in Nankulabye. Kakati ate nga mama wange ye muto. So you check that innocence as well plays a very, very big role. Nti kangende nono atandikire obulamu kunze. Okiraba? Minus all the drama. Okiraba? Kubanga me, I can tell you that from my experience and knowledge, when my mom came of age mu 20s, emyaka abawala gye bablossomingiramu, n'olabira ddala nti n'oyo omuwala kati mama yange ng'ali mu Benz gy'avuga, ali mu maka, mu kikomera, alina faamu awaka, avuga Benz, akola ki, nga buli kimu kiri. She saw everything very early. Kubanga kati batuuka okunzaala Lulago. I'm coming to that. Mu 1969, Dr. Milton Obote had been shot at in the mouth. He lost a couple of teeth. While at Lugogo during a youth winger conference, he was taken care of at Mulago. Do you know that Mulago has a presidential suite? And it has been there all these years. 6th floor, waggulu Mulago Hospital. Gye banzaalira. 6th floor. Kuliko antenatal, is it maternity? Kuliko na buli kimu, everything is there on top. That's where they hospitalized Obote. Okiraba? Mu 69 today Kumbos. So when my mom returns with my dad on that brief hiatus together, it caused a rift. it caused a rift. My dad was forced. Kati kati bwekiti bali yabagamba bave awaka n'abafunira emakindye n'agula n'ettaka erukuli awerinene ebintu binene byalaga byaggwawo n'abateeka eyo nga n'amaka mama wange n'agasigalamu. Kati technically my mom becomes a housewife before giving birth to me at around 15, 16 ng'ali mu maka mama wange. Very, very beautiful house ng'olewedde kati nga bamaliza ziri ebbiri eziddako ekyebadde mu kikomera kyaffe. So she's pregnant now. Are you with me? By the end of 1971, my mom was pregnant. What comes next? Baakola pate. Mzee wange yakola pate y'amaanyi nnyo awaka. Mwe muzita baby shower. Kati, let me explain to you this. I think my dad was compensating for so many things he had missed out as a child. And, as luck would be, at an early age, he's very successful. So what do you think you would do if it were you? Well, most of the things my dad was doing were very unheard of. Yes, baakola pate expecting me as the firstborn. But in essence, my dad was beginning to live his life through me. Era pate yali amaanyi nnyo. Ekitagobwa, I have the pictures. N'azimba church esooka. Ekitagobwa. Church ey'okubiri ey'ekyebando eyagizimba later on. In fact, zaali bbiri church ekyebando. Naye nga tudde ku ey'ekitagobwa. Mu Baminsani. Remember the missionaries were like this. I don't know why Church of Uganda doesn't explain these things to people. Because what Church of Uganda was Church Missionary Society. And that was the only access to education. That was the only access to create the elite. Kubanga kino ekintu bakicreatinze kya abaali balina okuyingira system after post-independence. So, kyetuyinza okugamba nti no kati nga abana b'e Makerere bagraduatinganga emirimu gibalinze. Bagendanga ku campus nga they are being paid. Makerere University, the elite, the first elite. Era kyekigenda okujja mu mboozi yaffe during the 70s when I begin to pound on the industrialists who pretty much take over the economy. Bwe bamuzeeyi baffe. They were seeing another Uganda past the byakabaka, past bino ebya Idi Amin. Idi Amin yafuga kimanyi bagenda mujjako. He had a tough time. Lwali lutandise. Let's go back. Bakola pate during Christmas time. Era pate eyo yalina mu kyalo ekitagobwa. Mu kitagobwa nga bazimbidde maama jjajja Nafuka bamuzimbidde ennyumba ya Tegula. Very, very nice house. Naye ettaka lyali lya musisi. Ebyo musisi yabitwala. Baabitwala ebyo. It was difficult. So many, I struggle so much to understand how my dad was doing some of these things. Maybe because he had a lot of money. ati omuzukulu asooka nze Kegus, the first grandchild. It was haunting my dad in this way. He knew who his dad was, but he couldn't do much for his dad. Kubanga nga bwe nabagamba nti taata wange, my dad, mwana mujja na nnyina. That's the family secret. The family secret was that my grandmother kept a secret that the child, that my dad wasn't for my grandfather. So he was building a splash house in the village where he was born or where he grew up for his grandmother, for his mother, my grandmother. Kiraba azimbye church naye nga taata we amuzaala ali mu kayumba ka ttaka. Era twayitangawo nga tuli bato, kids like this, they used to say, bazzukulu baddurufu. Kati now me, I can say them, I don't care. Even if they listen to the video, I don't care. Era kati bwe yaziikula Musisi, my dad, teyakomyawo n'asuula omulambo mu compound, nange nabbi babulya mu mboozi. Yamuziikulawo ku bijja, najja n'amusuula ekyebando. Yes, we buried my dad, we reburied him in the garden in 1994. Okay, ati pate engegwa, everybody now is excited. The excitement, they are praying for me, blah, 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 to be born. To be born. I think in that moment of excitement, of course, my mom is beginning to make home. Yes, she was taking over the home, Ali Makage, she's young, ata asoma, things like that. So, nagala mumpe mwana wa senior 4, nga ali makaga musajja nga ata asoma. Bilidda weebyo, jebiri. Mumpe mwana wa senior 4. Oba nga ali girls, oba ali wanga ava makaga musajja n'agenda n'asoma. You a joke with people. That was 1971, 72. Kati tuyingira 1972. Kakati ku byali bihappenings mu 71 bya sibabuulidde. January 25th, 1971, Amin overthrows. There's a change of government. That is going to change a lot of things in line of what was happening in the country. In the same year, there remains of King Freddy, my dad's friend, Mengo Senior Secondary School, and the scholar bursary, the scholarship to study at Mukalasa. You see, so in the midst of all the celebration that my dad was enjoying, success after success, money and all that, he was doing well, but there were sad moments of reflection. When you look back and you see behind you what it took to get where you were. You get these moments. That explains the reason Chava Zimba churches. My dad had grown up in the missionary schools, upbringing and all that, and he had been shaped in a certain way, and also with lingering questions of rejection and wanting to know his real dad. So within that conflict, it's called a dichotomy of things, you know what I mean? You are challenged. So that means it was easier for my mom to fill the gap or to fill in the void than Ruthie, Miss Uganda, who was about the same age with my dad. You see, that's why when they came to achieving what they did in the 70s, everything was astronomical. Omanye noyagala omuntu aba kimu kitambulira ku pesi emu. Era buli omu yatunulyanga family yaffe ngaga kajanda kyandanga ayagala mukazi we, kyandanga ayagala abaana be. Nze nga banvugira mu benzi yange on Mercedes, mubuuze abana ku Buganda Road bo bajja kugamba nti Kagumba tumujjukira ne maama we nga alina enviiri empanvu bweziti. That is what they would tell you. And also they would tell you nti emmotoka zajjanga nga 2-3. Buganda Road teryali ssomero lya munaku. Buganda Road lyali ssomero lya the who is who. Okay, tweyongereyo mu maaso. Akati the wedding preparations come about as soon as Kati, I think my dad wanted to send a statement. Nagamba nti he's going to marry my mom while she's pregnant. Tikinangiri. You know, kakati with the reverberation going on her side, the sisters have fallen apart with her. Kakati kino kino ekyaliwo. Bwe basalawo bagattibwe yalina okukyusa eddiini. Nebiwanvu ddala nebigamba kati it's like my dad coming into my mom's life or into their lives had created an explosion of, you know, they detested my dad because baga nti yalina sente bitalina byonna destroying the family. Yes, yali ayagadde mukulu wa maama wange, kati ayagadde maama wange omuto, ate alina bannalulungi ba Uganda, ate muwala agenda mukyusa eddiini. Can you imagine? Ku 23-24 akola ebintu ebyo. Tebiriko nti ndi 40 oba nti ndi 50. So, but my dad didn't care less. He was trying to find his place. And my mom was willing to fight the battle with him. Kati mama wange ng'akyusa eddiini. Before long, 4 months later, they are getting married. Kati my mom is about 7 months pregnant. Bagenze in Nairobi okukola shopping. It was a big event. Bagenda like 4-5 people. Bafunye ba designer, ba boutique, byani. Omukyali yategeka embaga eyo. Werubagaawo. I've been trying to look for the names. Byali mu bya decoration nnyo mu 70s. Nga yaba decorating a state house eyo byali occasion byamikolo byani bina yali byamaanyi nnyo. Ne Uncle Patrick Kiwanuka. Uncle Patrick Kiwanuka. So, kiri bwe kiti. Bayagala banzalire Kenya. Kiraba? Bayagala banzalire London wano. Yes. Bino ebintu bituufu. Sente zaaliwo. Naye mama wange yali muto. So I think to avoid all the complications, kiri bwe kiti. Ate nga we had Mulago Hospital. Mulago Hospital gyenjogerako. Ndala, it is a different Mulago, not the one of today. Lyali ddwaliro lyenjogerako. It was a referral hospital. Era nga tomala galiringira. Erijjanjaba aba president, erijjanjaba abaani bonna. I have the records. Era baasasula esiringisi 480 eshiringi esente ngezitowa. But to the public it was a free hospital. Era bonna abajja okuwulira Mulago ddwaliro lyalinga lya bwereere naye nga lya referral. Kasita ofuna referral ku grade 5 hospital, amalwaliro gaali bwe gati. Bino ebintu byemagana byobote yabireeta bya kikomunisiti. Otandikira ku dispensary sijui n'ogenda ku level 1, 2, 3, 4. Bo ekintu bwe kikaluba ennyo ku ddwaliro grade 5 sijui ne bakuwa referral gye Mulago. So you only accessed Mulago with records. Era nga n'ebbaluwa zibeerayo. You know, twalinanga bukaadi obwedde obwo. So my mom had limited options there. Kiraba. Kakati the wedding is going on. They've traveled. Olugoye balina oddutumya London ne balumupimako nga lusobola n'okubikka olubuto wano. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. Abakazi bamanyi byenjogerako balina gye bakuwagikamu katono wano naye olubuto era lwalabika mu bifaananyi. Olubuto ne lulabika mu bifaananyi naye to the public abaalaba kye baalaba bo baalaba mukwano ku mbaga era wayitawo emyezi egi 2 ne banzaalira emulago. Nze my own speculation eri bwete maama wange alaika yayagala kino ekintu kiggwerewo nga bwe kyaggwerawo. Omanyi abakazi bagezi, to send out a statement that this man is getting married to me and I am pregnant and the whole world is seeing me and this is the man who raised flags nayagala nalulungi. Nze I've come in her shoes as a wife, not a girlfriend. It was powerful. It was a powerful statement. So that explains why on the wedding day Ruth Yaja Nalulungi, my dad's ex, she attended the wedding, and as they cut the cake, she had the courtesy to go and stand beside my dad, grab a plate, and go and serve my mom. Hey, tell me which woman can do that? Mwetemulabye ku bakazi, abakazi be mbabuulirako baali baana bato ate nga balina yalinga 23 oyo gwe mbagamba Ruth at that age. My mama ali 16 and it sent alarm bells. Abantu bonna baali bamanyi ekigenda mu maaso. Nagamba naye Kyandanga alina amaanyi, Kyandanga w'amaanyi, akyaye Nalulungi ate kati ayagadde omulungi omuto kaveera siri conditioned sichi mufuna bulungi yemboozi yeeyo gye mbabuulira kakati. We are moving fast now. The thing is clear. My mom made an impression on my dad. They fall in love. I would speculate before they went to Kenya on that holiday together, they were having an affair. Because my dad used to come to the enyumba yayita zisulamu ekyebando nga bakyazizimba. Only one house was ready nga era ajjawo buzi kulaba baali babeeramu. My mom and her sisters had been given the main house to stay in. Naye nga my dad was going out with the elder sister. Nababuulira nga how my dad met my mom and his sisters. Yali ava Mengo ng'avuga kati ate yalaba Auntie Joelia, my mom's elder sister, ng'amumanyi ng'amulaba muki mu Suzana gye baacakaliranga. Kati agenda okumumanya nti babeera mu Kiyindi. It was not a good place to stay. Kati nga baava mu kyalo ekangulumira ng'olwo jjajja Maria ayawukanye ne jjajja Sediabane. So she had migrated to Kampala with the children. Mufuna bulungi nnyo. So hadn't my dad met Auntie Joelia, Mama Joelia, the sister of my mom, he made that decision to say, mujje mubeere mu nnyumba zange terazisulamu nze nzigyawo buzzi okiraba kuba taata wange yatambulanga nnyo. He used to move around the country, abala bitabo basula mu mawoteeri agaga Uganda hotels. So it was making sense at the time, but it was a poison chalice. In the end mama wange yakifunamu nekitabula family. But my mom made up with the sister later on. Auntie Joelia, ye ndoza yitagenda kwagala kyanda. My dad bino bintu bibeerayo sijja kugamba nti nze nyumya mboozi naye nga that was the reality and the order of the day. Kiraba, even the incident in Susanna nightclub prompted Uncle Patrick Chiwanuka to advise my dad nti lwaki towasa naiti naba mwana muto. Kiraba, in fact it's very, very much interesting to note that I think a year before Uncle Patrick had also gotten married. I'll check that with Ronald. Yeah, kati kye nabagamba in the other video nti bino ebintu byonna influence eva mu bintu ebikwetoolodde. Okiraba, kati nze nja bagamba nti I was a wanted child. My dad wanted to compensate for a lot that he had missed out as a child. Okiraba, but it had ramifications because a lot of things, I would call that collateral damage on my mom's side. But mama wange yayeeta obugagga mu family yeewaabwe kuba yali yayagadde mu musajja mugagga. Kiraba, yes, my dad did a lot of things for the families. Yabakolera ebintu bingi nnyo. Era bonna baabeeranga waffe Kyebando, baasomera waffe Kyebando, taata wange yabasasulira school. Everybody benefited. Kiraba, so nze nali mwana wa mikisa era enzaalo eyange yakyusa ebintu bingi nnyo. My mom lived out a very, very, very good life. Taata wange yayagala mama wange n'omutima ogwo gumu, ate mama wange yajja n'emikisa. She was a blessed woman. She was, and when we go into the 70s, we're going to bring everything full circle. You get me? So, hadn't the conference in Nairobi been around that time, sandizaliddwa, because bino ebintu nange nabikolanga nzigenda nagambanga omuwala ompereke kati ng'okujja London wanajjanga n'abawala bangi bambi nzize ntwale okay tugende kukubaya Matala Avenue okugirayo visa n'omuleeta kuno era naye ajja kunyumya emboozi ng'oyo omuntu oyo agambe titaba kuba Kegus sandibadde London. Nze I didn't care much about what you do after you have a life, you live it. Kubanga omukazi akwagala nga naye ayagala kulinnyako kadaala gwe ng'omutango omugamba munange move on, there's nothing else. No. Nze bena tuuna baekana mu hoteri wano omugamba nti no, I'm going back to Uganda. Naye oba okyali mwana muto ebyokola. So 16th of June 1972, my mom gives birth to me, having checked into Mulago Hospital for 4 days. 4 days yamala e Mulago. Mugondi, private wing, 6th floor. Kiraba, bankolera pate nga mami ali lubuto. Mami akyusa eddiini, bakola pate nga bamubatiza. They get married in April. In June ne banzaala. they had to baptize me. Ebintu kati obulamu obuvunaanyizibwa mami bwe yatandikiramu n'ebyalina okuba nga alina okuachivinga okukola awaka nabagamba last time we had a contingent of people mubayita abakozi servants and everything maids era nze naliko ba abantu nga basatu ba mami naye yali muto alina okuddayo asome alina whatever was going on and everything and so my early start is a very big contradiction to my dad's early start. First of all, my grandmother was young when she had my dad. She was about 14. And at 14, that's an unwanted pregnancy. It is unexpected pregnancy. Kyovolaba nti abaana ng'abo abaminsani baabaagalanga nnyo ne babatwala mu bintu byabwe ebyeddiini kati ne babawa foundation. Again, they were called enlightened children. Let me make it easy for you to understand. The word elite era bakikosanga nnyo. Post-independence, the elites are taking over the country. Era bwe bakola decisions zonna eziddako later on afterwards. Bano ba Obote nga balina okuvaawo bo baali balina ideology zaabwe. Kati bwe ngamba today nti no Museveni naye yali mu generation y'aba elites mba mutuufu. Yes, because the pressure was mounting in between mu 70s ebyali bigenda mu maaso. Come the 80s, that was the pressure point now. Nti kyalina culmination nti it had to go into a guerrilla war to erase the pre-independence and post-independence dilemma. Muntegedde bulungi nnyo awo ngenze nnyo mu politics and byebyo ebibeerawo n'ebyaliwo. So there are a lot of contradictions and in understanding why this or that. Kubanga my dad loved my mom 100%. Yeah, nasalawo ye committing because marriage is a commitment. When you decide on something, you want to commit to something because it adds something to you. And they lived together. Of course, there's always drama, there's always this, there's always that, but that's all part of being two people. You cannot have it one way. So, when I'm born, I think I was baptized a month. Soon after, there was a very, very big ceremony. Kati mwena kumbuza nti Kegus, where were you baptized? I was baptized twice. I was baptized in Namirembe and I was baptized in Shitagobwa, the church that my dad had built. In fact, all of us, yes, my sisters and my brother, they were all baptized in the churches, basically. I'm the only one who was baptized twice. In Namirembe, era bishops bonna bajja, Bishop Badungu, Misairi Kauma, Dunstan Subuga, lots of names there. Bajjanga awaka ewaffe. Era nga bwe nabagamba nti data wange yali nnyo mu byeddiini nga it's like tugenda bigendamu later on. But this chapter has been about how I came to be, how I came around. Ng'omwana nakugamba gwe baakuzaala batya, waaliwo ebyali bisikagana. There was a push and there was a pull. But if it hadn't been that minister, taata wange yabeeranga namu baministers. Gavumenti yakakyuka era kabinenti y'obote y'Amini mulimu ne Uncle Henry Chemba. I'll put the pictures there as well. I'll come to that chapter. Why my dad kept out of politics. Nasigala ku byali bimunyumira business kuba yali ategedde ssente mangu. Ate bano obunga be bamwesiga. Ne mbagamba nti twabeeranga ne banka awaka. Twalina safe akabokisi. It was a room. Ssente nga ziri packed mu room. Era olusiga tuggulawo enzigi ne tuzaanika n'ebweru. Later on mu gundi mu 80s. Era baatubbako ne batema safe eyo muka box room. Yes, so that begins the life of Kegus, and what came of that. Era abantu bonna abasinga tukuze twakula bamanyi Paatu. Patrick musika wa Kyanda, Patrick nga baganda bange tebabawogera nako tebabamanyi naye nga baalingayo. Aye twakolanga emikolo awaka naye nga tegyalina that, you know, when something is held up so high. Aye Patrick ajje, Paatu ajje, Paatu yasomye bulungi nnyo. Mukimanyi nti bankolanga nezipate buli holiday mu primary. Nze nsinze ku ssomero. First, second, first 10, first this. But that was overwhelming as well. It put so much pressure on me to live up to that image they had put in front of me to achieve. Era ekyo ekintu kiri common nnyo mu bazadde, you know, when bakiyita helicopter parenting. You hoover around something. School get mom, oba school get daddy, naye nali mugezi anyway. So kakati Mulago Hospital, I've checked, bakyalina wing eyo, private wing. It's nice. It looks beautiful, isn't it? Naye ndekabya sente nyingi n'okubeera ne sente, isn't it? Kati banzaala Mulago Hospital. Nenkulira ekyebando. My first 15 years nali kyebando wenakulira. Era abamanyi bonna bajja kugamba nzaalo y'ekyebando Paatu mutabani wa Kyanda. Nga buli omu amanyi ku kyalo. I was liked wonna ku katale eno ewa Seero mu Kitengo, eweerisa eno wansi eno ewa Kasenke, Kasiriivu, Kiggundu, Lubwama, ewa Teekera yakolanga Kabalagala, you know. So we're going to come to that, but that was just an oversight there. So quote unquote 1971 I am conceived in Kenya, and that explains my affinity towards Kenya, Nairobi. And I think that is even why my mom wanted me to go and study there. She had my mom had what? An attachment. You know when you have an attachment to something for the obvious reasons. So there are many memories there, people. So my dad's story continues next week, chapter 9. We're going to dive deep now into the changes that come about, the changes that happened, why my dad left public service job in mango growers, and then he went big on business. Big. Bakola enkumbi za DP muzizo zina mzee wange babikola emisumaali tuje wire mesh kiraba ayine basembula abo babule tuli nabo bunamwaya our neighbors bamulwana ex-dai bani bonna you know, those were the young elites abaali balaba Uganda gyerina okuba. Museveni naye yalimu, naye yali already ali mu bibye alwana, naye nga muzeeyi wange yali amumanyi, baali beemanyi, yamuwa kampu. My dad tujja kutuuka eyo olutalo lw'Eruweero Masulita Kapeeka Kakiri we wali faamu yaffe Kamuli mixed farm. Twaluuzinga ebintu biyitirivu nnyo, baayokyerangayo emikalo, batta ente zonna bazitwala, bakola kibiina n'abitrainingira bingi nnyo. Nakati abaali balwana bajjawo kiri, kubanga olutalo lwa Museveni teyalulwana yekka. Ekyo kyo tukyadimiitinge, lwalimu bafinansiya nga baalugula biwanvu. Anyway, kakati it's been a very long video, tuginyumiddwa. So next week we're gonna run through the 70s right up to the 80s. 79 ni Uncle Paulo Mwanga akomawo, bitabi na bino ebyali bigenda mu maaso, era tujja bituukako. Uncle Paulo yali neighbor waffe, kwano kwa mzee wange, babidandi sali, bawaava muno. Of course Uncle Patrick yali wa mu nyumba, is bangi nnyo. There's so many names there, but Chiseka naye yali neighbor waffe, Samson Chiseka yajjanga n'awaka n'ayinga doctor, yali musawo e Kenya. Bingi nnyo bye mutamanyi. So guys, time out, tujja kunyumya next week, and emboozi nagibawa eri selected and requested. Okay people.